Okay, I'm going to talk to you today about places that a lot of wealthy people end up moving, and it ends up being a huge mistake on their part because they end up finding out these countries have really high taxes, and they tax based on worldwide income. If you live there usually 183 days a year, that's usually the test. Not all the countries use that test, but most of them use that. And I see it promoted a lot on these YouTube channels. And usually what happens is most of these people that are promoting these countries either are not making a lot of money already, so they really haven't experienced tax issues, or if they're making a lot of money, they're getting these houses and stuff and buying them in these places, and they're popping in and popping out, and they assume everybody wants to do that. But what you're going to find out is most of these countries that have really, really high income taxes, that taxes based on residency on your worldwide income, a lot of those countries, the prices on the properties typically don't go up a lot because of expats going there that are wealthy, because most of them that are knowledgeable don't go there. They try to avoid them. Now, that being said, there are wealthy people in every country of the world. But most of those people actually grew up in that country and they've got ties there, and some of them don't mind socialism, so they stay there. It doesn't run them off. There's a lot of people that in the U.S., that stay there and they hate high taxes, and some don't hate high taxes. Some people actually gravitate to socialism. But the point I'm trying to make is a lot of these countries are promoted on the internet constantly. I see it all the time. And thinking, why are they promoting these countries? And they don't mention anything about the tax brackets that you're going to be sitting in when you go to these countries. And some of them do have real good visa-free travel, but you're going to end up paying really high taxes. And I'll tell you something too, being the age I am, what you're going to find out is the older you get, the more you're going to find out that you're not going to want to be getting up your bags and stuff and moving out, because you're hitting that 183-day period, and you're having to try to avoid the tax for that year, so you're getting out of the country. And the problem that you have is if you have a situation like we had with the COVID-19, you might get trapped in the country and end up spending, depending on what your assets are, hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes because you get trapped in a country like Mexico. I see Mexico promoted all the time. I think it's one of the worst countries to go to immigrate to, and the reason I say that is it is if you have a lot of assets. If you're broke or close to being broke, no, it's not going to affect you that much. But if you've got a lot of assets and you're trying to get that passport, you're going to end up being taxed somewhat because you're going to have to be there in the country so many years before you can get that passport. And it does have a good passport, but do you want to be taxed a lot before you get that passport? And remember, you're going to have to pass a Spanish test to get that passport. But I'll be honest with you, most people in the know that are making a lot of money, that are paying taxes, don't go to Mexico to immigrate there. And you're going to have to pay high taxes to get that passport. So and this is a key question, is if you're not interested in the passport, but you're interested in residing there, are you willing to pack your bags up and take off and leave? Because if you get trapped in that country, like something that happens like with COVID-19, where all the airlines closed down and you can't leave, that could trap you in a country where you can't leave and end up having to pay literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes because the country won't let you out. Because of, it could be COVID-19, it could be you could have a health problem and you can't get out for some reason, and then you're stuck there. And most people that are younger, they don't think about stuff like this. And it does happen to younger people also too. But my advice is, if you want to go to a place where real estate is growing, pick territorial tax systems in countries that have territorial tax systems, and also countries that are pure tax havens, because this is where the wealthy people in the know, if they understand tax laws, this is where they're going to be going. These are places that are going to be propping these prices up. I mean, I've done videos on St. Bart's next to St. Kitts. It's like maybe, it's probably 40, 50 miles away, maybe 35 miles. It's not that far. And St. Bart's, to give you an example, it's about 58 times more per square foot than St. Kitts is. One reason it attracts so many people is There is no income tax over there either. But neither St. Kitts doesn't have an income tax either. But our price of our property over here is a lot cheaper. And that's why I say the deal is really not in St. Bart's, it's in St. Kitts. St. Bart's has got the most expensive property of any place in the Caribbean. It's higher than the Caymans. It's higher than any other place that I know of in the Caribbean. Of course, Bermuda's in the Atlantic. It's higher than Bermuda. Bermuda is one of the most expensive places I've ever been. The only place I really know that's probably higher than St. Bart's is probably someplace like it's in Europe. Like Monaco. Monaco would probably be the only place I would think that would be probably more expensive. And it's not that much more expensive, but it is more expensive than St. Bart's. But that's what's happening to the Leeward Island chain of countries. This is the area that is the prettiest in the world as far as weather goes, and it's really throwing the prices up. But people want to go to places that have really good tax laws. These countries, I would tell you to stay away from, and I see a lot of people promoting them. And these are countries like Portugal's a tax trap. I've told this to people before, and I've done videos on that. I would stay away. Portugal's got really high brackets. You get a break during that habitual tax regime time period, but still I've done videos where it's not really a great deal. I mean, you got so many other better deals, and then after the 10-year period, you go into a huge tax swing where you're going to have to start paying taxes. The key thing is, if you move your wife and your kids to places like this, you end up getting them enthralled in the system there. And you might want to move because of taxes, but they might not want to move. They're not looking at money matters like you are. They're looking, they've developed friends over there. So, what happens is it's very difficult to get out of these places after you get in there. And that's what they plan on doing. They like to give these tax regimes, like the habitual tax regime is a 10-year program, and then suck you in and start paying out real high taxes at the time period, because a lot of people get sucked in the system and then they don't want to leave. But other countries are, you look at countries like, I see Colombia promoted a lot. Colombia's got really bad tax laws. Okay, and I'll tell you something else. I see people talk, they downgrade the crime and stuff there. Listen, when I was in Panama, I knew 5 people that were from Panama that had lived in Colombia. All 5 of the people, all 5, these were people that were there at least a 5-year period or longer, okay? And there were 5 or 6 people I talked to. Every single one of those people had either been robbed, and 2 of them were kidnapped. One of them got kidnapped for 11 days and literally fell off they got on one of these trucks, and the guy fell asleep in the back. The AK-47, he just basically fell off the truck and then just blended into the jungle and got out. And I met him at a mall one time. He was telling me the story about it. But there's so many, I'll tell you something, Colombia is a very dangerous place. That's a pretty bad statistics when you know about 5 people that have been there at least 5 years, and all of them been either robbed or kidnapped, okay? But the biggest thing that I don't like about Colombia is the fact if you're there and you're living there all year long, you're going to pay high taxes, okay? Mexico's the same way. There are other countries too I don't like. You're looking at Greece. Other countries are like Spain, Chile, Argentina. One country that a lot of expats like to go to is Indonesia. Brazil's another one. These are countries that a lot of expats like to go to, but they're not good countries as far as taxes go. If you really want to get around high taxes, these are countries I would not be going to. Now, also, folks, if you want to get around high income taxes legally, or how to get a second passport as quick as about 3 or 4 months, do 3 things. Hit the subscribe button on the right of your screen right here, and you get new videos automatically as they come out. And number 2 is I would like to hear from you. If you got a question or comment, put it below. And number 3 is go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, and just ask for some help. Now, these are countries that I mentioned that don't have territorial tax systems. These are countries, if you're there, they're going to tax you on your worldwide income. Most of your countries in Central America, except Mexico, have territorial tax systems. These are the type of countries you should be looking at. There are some other ones in South America. Ecuador's got a good territorial tax system. Malaysia's good. It's got a territorial tax system. Singapore does in most cases, depending on your business that you have there. Uruguay is, a lot of people don't realize, Uruguay taxes dividends after 5 years. So if you've got a lot of money in equities, it generates a lot of money in dividends, you could get hit pretty hard. They didn't have any income tax in Uruguay many years ago, and they cut that out. So that's not like it used to be. So, it's another good option that I do like, it's going to take you years to get the passport, is Paraguay. Paraguay, they state that you can live there for 3 years and then apply for the passport, but you're not going to get it after 3 years. It'll take you, I'd say, 10 to 20 years to get that passport. You're not going to hear that from a lot of people, but that's the time period. Any of these places in Central or South America, it's going to take you a long time to get the passport. I always stick with countries too. Another option, which is almost like a territorial, in fact it is territorial, but they define it as something else, is that's called a non-dom status, where you can go to a country that has very high income taxes. By the way, too, I'm riding my bike while I'm talking to you here. I like countries that have, where you can literally go there and you can control your taxes. Ireland's a good one. Cyprus is good. UK is actually good for 7 years, and then you're going to have to either move out. You could get the passport there and move out, because you could literally live in the UK totally tax-free with the non-dom status they've got. Malta's got one but you're not going to get your taxes to zero. They've got a minimum €5,000 that you would have to pay per year, even if you got your taxes to zero. But it's going to take you years to get the citizenship in Malta if you go by the residency method, because you can't apply for the passport until you reside there 15 years unless you go on the fast track program. That's going to take you over $1 million that you're going to have to fork out. Okay, and a lot of that money is not being invested. A lot of the money is just basically going out in a huge tax for expenditures to the government there. There are other programs out there that are really good. Malaysia, you'll never get the passport there. That's the problem there. Indonesia is coming out with a program, but unless they would have to dramatically change their tax laws with the people that are coming in that are foreigners, and sometimes countries do that. They'll come in with a non-dom program, or they might have free zones for foreigners to come in, and then you can apply for the citizenship later. But it's pretty rare that the government comes in and actually gives you a pass on the taxes, even if you get citizenship. Ireland is one of the few that does that. Ireland, you can come in as a non-dom. You can stay as a non-dom even after citizenship, as long as you keep your other passport and don't give it up, because that would be your domicile. Is your last passport before you got the Irish passport. So this is the way you can actually keep your taxes to zero. But folks, stay away from countries that tax you on your worldwide income. It just blows my mind, these people that get on here on YouTube and they promote these countries, and they don't talk about the high taxes they hit you on if you end up immigrating there. And these countries I just read out to you, and that's just a small handful of them. Most of the countries in the world tax you on your worldwide income if you're there. Now, a lot of them don't, most of them don't actually exercise and implement a forced type system. But I always tell people, look, I don't care how inefficient the country is, if they've got tax laws that you don't like, don't go there. Just stay away from the country. Pick from the list of, there's a smorgasbord of countries out there to pick from, but it just drives me crazy when I see people go to these countries and think they won't enforce the tax laws. And they think they're going to get by with it. What I would be doing is these countries I've read out to you, there's plenty of other ones that tax worldwide income. Just stay away from them. You don't need to be picking from those countries. And remember, when you go to these countries too, they have good tax laws. You've got to take in consideration, if you're doing it to get that second passport, you're going to have to pass, in most cases, a language test. And if you're not willing to do it, just cross it off your list. There's so many countries to pick from. My advice is to pick from English-speaking countries that have good tax laws that allow dual citizenship. They don't have military requirements. Of course, I've always said I like St. Kitts the best because every one of those blocks I've just talked about, they check every single block there. And people complain about this new raise in fee from the donation option from 125 to 250,000. But I mean, you had that chance to do it. It's gone. If you go in St. Kitts now, to me, as I mentioned before, the real estate option has always been, to me, I thought the best option, even when the donation option was 125,000, because now they never raised that with St. Kitts' real estate option, which is still only 25,000 US. In fact, I actually went back on my records to many years ago, 2006, and you won't believe this, but the government fee now on one person is actually cheaper now with the real estate option than it was in 2006. Back then it was 35,000. Still remember the figure. I still have some old records I went through. 35,000 versus now it's 25,000 for one person. But I'm going to tell you something. It's not going to stay there. They're going to probably double or triple that fee. If you're looking to try to get a really good deal on getting a fast-track citizenship program, has no language requirement, you can get the passport pretty quick. They did stop, by the way, they did stop the accelerated option program. It did cost quite a bit to carry that option too. You had to pay extra for that. It just accelerated where you could get it in 45 to 60 days. That's ended, okay? So you're looking at probably around 4 to 6 months before you get the in-principle approval letter from the Citizenship Department. And then depends on how backed up they are in the Citizenship Department of St. Kitts. But if you want to know more on this, folks, go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, and just ask for some help. And I would like to hear from you. If you got a question or comment, just put it below. And again, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on the right of your screen right here. You'll get new videos automatically as they come out. And I look forward to talking to you on the next video. Take care.